7 husbands, 8 marriages, a diamond collection that sold at auction for $156 million after she died. Richard Burton, one of the most celebrated actors who ever lived, would buy Elizabeth Taylor jewels simply because it was Tuesday, not her birthday, not an anniversary, just because he loved her. He once outbid Cartier at auction for a 69-carat diamond because, in his words, the most beautiful diamond in the world belonged with the most beautiful woman in the world. And she accepted it. She didn't shrink. She didn't say it was too much. She didn't feel guilty. She received it like a woman who understood that she was worth every single carat. Elizabeth Taylor was not a passive woman who just got lucky with rich men. She was not a gold digger. She was not playing games. She was something far more powerful than any of that. This is the Elizabeth Taylor playbook. Let's get into it. Before we get into the psychology of this woman, I need to reframe who Elizabeth Taylor actually was, because the media spent decades trying to reduce her to her marriages and her scandals. They said she was chaotic. They obsessed over how many times she'd been married like it was some kind of character flaw. But here's what the tabloids never wanted to talk about. Elizabeth Taylor was one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood history. She negotiated her own contracts at a time when women did not do that. She was the first actress to be paid $1 million for a single film. Cleopatra, 1963. She co-founded the American Foundation for AIDS Research in 1985, when AIDS was still being treated as a death sentence and a shameful secret. She used her platform, her money, and her name when it cost her something to do so. This was not a woman who needed a man to survive. She was financially independent, internationally famous, and powerful in her own right before any of the marriages happened. And that is the first thing you need to understand about the Elizabeth Taylor playbook. Her power over men did not come from desperation. It came from the complete opposite. She didn't chase. She didn't over-explain herself. She didn't perform for men's approval. She moved through the world like a woman who already knew her value. And that energy made powerful men feel like gaining her attention was an achievement. Think about Richard Burton. This man was notorious for his relationships with women. He was a womanizer before Elizabeth Taylor. He had been unfaithful to his wife repeatedly. And yet, the moment Elizabeth came into his orbit, something shifted. He couldn't stop. He pursued her so relentlessly that he nearly destroyed his entire life to have her. What was different about Elizabeth? She matched him. She didn't shrink for him. When he was loud, she was louder. When he challenged her, she challenged him back. She had a sense of self so solid that being around her felt like encountering something rare. He said himself, "She is more than beautiful. She makes me feel that if I could have her, I could have everything." That is the psychology of the prize, not manipulation, not games. A woman so rooted in who she is that men feel her absence would be a genuine loss. Now ask yourself, do you move through your life feeling like a prize? Or do you move through it hoping someone will eventually see your worth? Because that internal difference changes everything about how you are treated. The diamonds were not the goal. The diamonds were the evidence. When Richard Burton bought her the 69-carat Taylor Burton diamond, he wasn't doing it because she asked for it. He wasn't doing it because she manipulated him into it. He was doing it because he was a man in love with a woman who he felt was worth it. And he wanted her to know that he saw her worth. Elizabeth herself said, "I've never thought of my jewelry as trophies." She received the gifts as natural expressions of how she was loved. She didn't obsess over them. She didn't keep score. She didn't use them to validate herself. And this is where the conversation gets deep, because so many women today are chasing the outcome, the gifts, the ring, the grand gesture, while completely neglecting the internal work that creates the conditions for those things to happen naturally. Men of status and means do not show up lavishly for women they feel they've already won. They show up lavishly for women they're still trying to prove themselves to. Women who hold themselves in such high regard that the man feels he has to continue earning his place. Elizabeth Taylor never let a man feel he had fully won her, because she genuinely had a full life, a full identity, and a full sense of self that existed completely independently of any relationship she was in. She didn't need the men, she chose them, and men could feel that difference. Elizabeth Taylor was an anomaly not because she was uniquely gifted with some magnetic superpower. She was an anomaly because she somehow escaped or resisted the programming that most women absorb from childhood. We are taught from the time we are little girls to shrink, to accommodate, to be agreeable, to not want too much, to not take up too much space, to be grateful for what we're given and not ask for more. We are taught that a woman who knows exactly what she wants and refuses to settle for less is difficult, demanding, too much. We are taught that being chosen is the goal, not choosing. And so we spend our lives performing smallness, hoping that if we make ourselves manageable enough, someone will finally decide we're worth keeping. We wait to be picked instead of operating like women who are doing the picking. Elizabeth Taylor never got that memo, or she got it and threw it away. She operated from a self-concept that said, I am exceptional. The men in my life should feel lucky to have my attention. I do not mold myself to fit someone else's idea of who I should be. I am not waiting to be chosen. I am the one doing the choosing. And the result? The most powerful men in the world fell at her feet and stayed there. This is about doing the internal work to genuinely believe, not perform, genuinely believe that you are worth choosing, that you are worth pursuing, that you are worth the diamonds and the grand gestures and the unwavering devotion. Because women who believe that at their core attract men who confirm it. And women who secretly believe they're lucky to be loved at all attract men who treat them accordingly. So what do we take from this woman's life? What are the actual principles that created her power? Let me break them down. Principle 1, your self-concept is your most powerful asset. Elizabeth Taylor believed she was exceptional, not arrogantly, but as a simple, settled fact of her existence. She didn't need external validation to confirm it. She didn't change who she was based on who she was with. She had an internal identity that was non-negotiable. Build that. That's the foundation of everything. Principle 2, receive well. Most women have been so conditioned to feel guilty about receiving gifts, compliments, devotion, care, that they deflect it. They downplay it, they say it's too much. Elizabeth Taylor received fully and gracefully. She understood that receiving well is an act of self-respect, not greed. Practice it. Principle 3, your standards are not your problem. They are your protection. She left marriages. She left situations. She did not stay to prove she could make it work when it clearly wasn't working. Your standards are not the reason you're single or struggling. They are the boundary between you and a life you don't actually want. Principle 4, a full life is more attractive than availability. Elizabeth Taylor had a career, friendships, passions, causes she cared about. She was not sitting by the phone waiting for a man to make her life meaningful. She was living. Men are not drawn to women who are waiting for them. They are drawn to women who have something to come home to. Principle 5, you don't have to explain your choices to anyone. She married 8 times. She had affairs. She caused scandals, and she kept living on her own terms without issuing public apologies for the choices she made in her own life. Stop seeking permission. Stop over-explaining. Your life is yours. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with the questions that I think this woman's life is actually asking us. Do you believe, truly, in your quiet moments, without performing for anyone, that you are a woman worth pursuing, not worth tolerating, not worth keeping out of convenience, worth pursuing? When someone shows up for you with devotion and care and grand gestures, do you receive it fully? Or do you minimize it, question it, feel like you need to give something back immediately so the scales feel even? Where in your life are you staying because you're afraid of what leaving says about you, rather than leaving because you know what staying is costing you? And finally, what would your life look like if you operated with Elizabeth Taylor's self-concept? If you genuinely moved through the world knowing you were exceptional, knowing your attention was valuable, knowing that the right people will rise to meet your standards rather than you lowering them to meet theirs. I'll see you in the next one.